Okay, this is notes 4-7, using inverses to solve systems of equations. So the first thing is we don't need any of this stuff here. We want to look at number one and we want to go, okay, is it an ABC order? It has to be an ABC order. So if I see it has two variables, in this case it does, x and y, then my x's have to go first, then my y's, then my equal sign, and then the regular number, the number without a variable. And in this particular case, it is already an ABC order. My x's are first, so I just write down the number that goes in front of the variable. So 4, and then 3, and then -4, just in order. Second line, I have 3, -1, and -3. So now I have myself a 2 by 3 matrix. Don't worry about this inner brackets. They're not supposed to be there, so just pretend they're not. It's a 2 by 3 matrix. So I build myself a 2 by 3 matrix in my calculator. So I turn my calculator, second matrix, go over to edit, and number one, I build a 2 by 3 matrix. And then I'm going to put the new numbers in. So I have 4, enter, 3, enter, -4, enter, 3, enter, -1, enter, and -3, enter. Once I have those entered in, I exit out of this screen, so second quit. Now I hit second matrix, go over to math, go all the way down to RREF, double R, not the single R. Hit enter. And then it says RREF of what? Well, I put my data in matrix A, so second matrix, number 1 for A, and it's RREF of A, and I hit enter. Now if I cover up the two end numbers, I see the diagonal ones we've been talking about and the rest are zeros. If it's anything other than that, then I typed in something wrong. Once I see those diagonal ones and the rest being zeros, I can uncover this and from the top down, alphabetically, add an x and a y, correct? So the x value is -1, my y's are 0. So I write that in, -1, 0, also put them into my solution. And it is a solution set instead of coordinates. Yes, it is a coordinate for this particular one because it is a 2 variable equations. And so solving systems with 2 variables, that would be the intersection. However, in a moment I'm going to have z's as well. So I'll have actually 3 different variables and I could have 5 different variables. But I would list them all out with comma in between. So you can check yourself because my x's are -1, put in -1 for x, -1 times 4 is -4, plus 3 times 0, which is 0, so that equals -4. Put that same -1 in here, -1 times 3 minus 0 is sure enough -3. Alright, moving on to the second one. And it's not always going to be pretty like this. Like on the test, this top one might read 7x equals 61 plus 5y. The bottom one could be 5y equals -6x minus 22. So it won't be all nice and pretty like that one up there. So we have to get used to seeing them and going, whoa, those are out of order. I've got to put them in ABC order. So I look at the top row, and the x is already good. It's on the left side of the equal sign, so I write it down. But the y is not. I have to move it across. So when it crosses the bridge, it becomes the opposite sign, which in this case is a negative. 5y equals the 61's already on the right, so it stays on the right. I look at the next one, I have my 5y on the left, but my x is in the wrong spot. So I move it all the way to the front. -6x crosses becomes a positive 6x, plus the 5y equals -22. Now everything's in ABC order, so I have my matrix. I just write them down, the numbers, 7, -5, and 61, 6, 5, and -22. And I see that once again, I have a 2 by 3 matrix. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take that, replace the ones I already have in my calculator, second matrix, go to edit. I already have the 2 by 3 in A, so I'm just replacing those numbers with my new ones. 7, -5, 61, 6, 5, and -22. Once I have them, I second quit, clear up out of there, second matrix, go to math, go all the way down to RREF, make sure it's double REF and not the regular REF, so RREF, hit enter. It says RREF of what? Second matrix, I put them in A, so I'm choosing number 1, A. Hit enter. Sure enough, if I cover up the two ends, there's those diagonal ones, the rest is zeros. So my x value is 3, my y value is -8. So there's my solution set for that one. As we flip the page, we're going to see that now there are 3 variables. I have an x, y, and a z. And again, they're in perfect order here, x, y, z, x, y, z, x, y, z. However, on a test, the y may be on the wrong side, or the z, or both, and we've got to manipulate them to where we get them into the correct order. We don't need this again. So I'm going to go ahead and write them in since they are in order. 3, 2, -1, and 11. 2, -1, 2, and -3. 1, 3, -1, and 8. One thing you need to keep in mind is if I see x, y's, and z's in like 2 of them, but one of them, let's say one of them didn't have a z. It was just 3x plus 2y, but everything else had a z. So I have got to put in a default z, which in this case I would put a value of 0. Okay, so instead of, I would have put 3, 2, 0, and 11, because I have to have a placeholder. 0 does not change the value. It doesn't add anything or subtract anything, but just know that in the future, if there is a variable missing that the other two do have, just put a 0 in, and that holds its place. So what we have here is a 3 by 4 matrix. So I go into my calculator, and I edit, and I'm going to change this to a 3 by 4 matrix. And I'm going to type in my new numbers. My new numbers are 3, 2, -1, 11, 2, -1, 2, -3, 1, 3, -1, and 8. Again, exit out of here, second quit, second matrix, go over to math, go all the way down to RREF. Hit enter. RREF of what? We put it in A again. Hit enter, and if I covered up the end, there's my diagonal ones, the rest is zeros. So my x value is 2, y value is 1, and z value is -3. So we have 2, 1, -3. Put them in our solution, 2, 1, -3. X, y, z. Okay, same thing on number 4. And we look at the top one, x, y, z equals number, x, y, z equals number, x, y. So it's all in perfect order already for me. So I just fill in my matrix. -3, -1, top row. 4 and 11, middle row. 6, 1, -1, -5, bottom row. 1, -2, 3, 0. And I see that I have a 3 by 4 matrix again. So I go into my calculator, go over to edit. Number 1 is already set up for a 3 by 4. Just put in my new numbers. -3, -1, 4, 11, 6, 1, -1, -5, 1, 3, 0. Okay, once I have them all in, I get out of this screen. Second matrix, go over to math, go down to RREF. Second matrix number 1, hit enter. And if I cover up the end, I see that I do have the diagonal ones, and then the end would be my answers. X value is -0.85, y value is 2.95, and z value is 2.85. Since they look a little bit crazy, I'm going to double check my work just to make sure. So I go back and I look at it, and I have -3, -1, 4, 11, 6, 1, -1, -5, 1, -2, 3, and 0. Double checking to make sure I put them in correctly into my calculator. And you don't have to do this because more than likely you got it right, but you could always check it if you think your numbers look a little bit off. And as I look at them in here, 6, 1, -1, and -5, 1, 3. I see that I did get off on 1. Okay, on the bottom row, I put in the wrong one. So it always kind of pays to check your work. So I go down here, and it's supposed to be 1, -2. 3 should be next, then 0. Okay, now, second quit, second matrix, go over to math, go down to RREF, and second matrix, number 1, and sure enough, still, there's my diagonal ones, and it's a lot cleaner. Doesn't always mean that you made a mistake. It could have been those answers up there, but it always pays if you see really crazy answers and everything else has kind of been falling into place. Just double check your signs, double check your numbers to make sure you put them in correctly. So my x value is actually -1, y is 4, and z is 3. So -1, 4, and 3. X, Y, Z. Okay? If you ever come out with a fraction or a decimal, you can change those to fractions by hitting your math menu and changing them to fractions. You will be doing on this assignment A4-7. You're going to do numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5. This concludes the notes for 4-7.